Ladies and gentle people, what's up? I guess story time is kind of introducing you guys to me, but I have a couple stories I want to share. I think you'll get a good laugh out of them. No matter what, it's just for entertainment purposes, and I think they're really funny, and I hope you do the same. But first off, we're gonna hit it off with my my best friend's wreck, and when you see somebody wreck, it's a weird experience. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to react, right? And I don't know. It was a rainy day, and we had just gotten off work, and so we both drive the same kind of car. It's a Honda Civic. Mine's an '06. His is a 2010. And so we're getting off work, and prior to getting into this wreck, we were talking about people driving stupidly in the rain, right? And they drive too fast and they swerve off the side of the road. And usually wrecks can be pretty bad, right? Well, lucky for him, it wasn't terrible, but of course it did put a dent in his bank account. But when, so he passed me, right? And so I was going to call him and tell him to slow down because I've been in a wreck. It was a little over a year ago. And so I was thinking he's probably going to get in a wreck. But of course, I don't really have, I'm not superstitious, I guess, if that's the word to use. So I didn't end up calling him. And so as we're going around this sharp turn, his car hydroplanes and it starts spinning. It does like a full 360 into a guardrail. And so his bumper gets torn off and the back right or left side of his car is like messed up. And so I'm right behind him as this happens. And so I pull off to the left side of the road, which you're not supposed to do, right? The left side of the road's dangerous and the right side has the bigger median, I guess. And so as I see this happen, I pull off and I get out of my car. And so I run over to him and love this from, yeah, thank you. But I run over to him, right? And he had his little sister in the car, Ellie, and I was like, is everybody okay? Do I need to call the police? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I called the police, and I didn't know you weren't supposed to call the police unless somebody was hurt. But I guess it was a good thing that I called them anyways because he needed a crowbar or whatever to get the metal out from messing up his tire while he was driving. And so he asked me if everything was okay with the car, and me, it was raining, okay? It was raining, and I didn't really notice anything wrong with the car other than, of course, the bumper being gone. And so I see the bumper, and I'm like, oh, you could just shove it back up in there. And so I run and grab the bumper, and I do like a not 360 around the car, but I go around the car, right? And of course, the headlight's broken and the tail light was broken as well, completely shattered. Yeah, both headlights were shattered. And so I didn't really notice at the time that both headlights and a tail light was broken. So I'm like, dude, your car is freaking fine. And I get in the car and he gets out of the car and he looks at the car and the hood's all messed up. The front left fender is also messed up. And I didn't notice any of this because I was just trying to cheer him up because I don't know why. But it was so funny. Now it's funny. It wasn't funny at the time because I saw like the bare minimum of what was wrong with the car. And because like, I don't know, with the clouds and everything, it was the angle. It was definitely the angle I was looking at it from. But there was no fluids, nothing on the ground leaking. And it was just, I don't know. I just saw nothing wrong with the car. And the car ride home was worse than the wreck. Yeah, I'm sure it was. You get shell shocked, I guess, and everything. But since we're on the topic of wrecks, my wreck was tiny bit worse. Nothing that much worse, but I'm not going to get into that right now, anyways. But it was May 27th, 2017, and me, Walker, and Ellie, the same three people from the previous story, we all three were working. And that day, I don't know why, but we weren't that busy. So we were just goofing around, and Walker had gotten an index card, and drawn a picture of something. I'm sure most of you know what he would have drawn on that card if you know anything about him, but he drew it and taped it to my chest. And so it's the end of the day, and I'm always in a hoodie, so I just slide over my hoodie. I leave the index card taped to my chest there. And so I get in my car and I just drive and get gas at a gas station. And at the time, it was a 99 Ford Explorer. And so I was really excited to get a full tank of gas. Before like that day, I had never filled up my gas tank all the way. So I was really pumped. And so I'm driving home, and it all happens, and I'm on the side of the interstate whenever it was all said and done, before the ambulance came. And so there's a ton of generous people, a ton of awesome people that were trying to help me and call my mom and my girlfriend at the time. And so whenever I got sat down and people started coming over to me, they noticed I was sweating like profusely, and I had adrenaline and didn't feel anything, and I was like dying in this hoodie. And so the person that like stopped first helped me take off my hoodie, and this was duct taped to my chest, right? And so it was not coming off unless there's like, and so this dude grabs the index card and just looks at it, and he just threw it. And I was kind of mad because I wanted to keep this dang index card, because it's like, it's awesome that I had it on my chest when that happened. Another thing is I always wear like long socks, and so at the time I didn't have a bank account, so I had all my money like in my wallet. And that day I didn't bring my wallet for some reason, and so I shoved all my money in my sock, and the people there like started freaking out. They were like, "Well, son, you might have a broken ankle." And so the dude pulls down my sock and looks at it and goes, "Oh." He thought it was like, what is those breaks whenever your bone's sticking out? Shoot, it starts with a C, I'm pretty sure. It was one of those breaks, and he thought it was anyways. And so I was like, yeah, it's my money. And luckily nobody's, yeah, you did. I appreciate that. Shoot, I want to know what break it was. But anyways, they thought it was broken. It wasn't. It was my money. And so I'm in the ambulance after all this happened, and I had this nice lady in the ambulance. I don't know what they're EMT. No, that's emergency medical transport. I don't know. But anyways, I was in the truck, and I was laying there, and I couldn't feel anything because like I'm still adrenaline boosted. And so I'm laying there, and this truck hit every single pothole known to man on the way to the hospital. And so she's like, "Just sit tight, we're almost there." And I don't know what it was, but I felt super comfortable in her presence. But when we got to the dang hospital, it went to hell, because They were asking if I was under the influence of any sorts. They asked a whole bunch of questions that didn't really need to be asked, but I guess since I was 16 at the time. No, was I? Yeah, I was 16. Um, since I was 16 at the time, they were like, "Were you on your phone? Were you distracted by any means?" So all those questions, no. And so before the Thursday before that Saturday, me and my girlfriend at the time were hanging out, and the one time I let anybody paint my toenails was this time. And so they were both, but all 10 toes pink with white smiley faces on them and polka dots. And so I'm in the hospital the Saturday, and that I had just got new clothes, new socks, and everything. I was pumped. I was like, I'm grinding. I look good today. And so, um, as as they were like cutting off my shirt and my shoes, I was like, don't take off my underwear. I just don't like being naked in front of other people. Anyways, not really relevant. But they start taking off my shoes and my socks. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not gay, but my toenails are painted. And so this lady starts pulling. Remind you, all these nurses are like 9 out of 10s and 10s out of 10s because they were all beautiful. And so she starts taking it off a little bit, just slow, just in case anything's broken. And she looks at my toes and dies laughing. When I tell you I haven't seen anybody laugh that hard, it's ridiculous. She laughed way too hard. And 5 minutes later, I noticed that there's an endless amount of nurses walking in, checking on me, mainly my toes. And so I'm like, the one day my toenails are painted, I get into a wreck. Lucky me, right? Well, I guess it makes for a great story. But now that we're on the subject of, I want to say it, headassery. 8th grade. I have a bunch of stories from 8th grade that I'd love to tell you all today, but we are at 12 minutes. And so, 8th grade, me and Walker had the same science class and same English class. I think we had all the same classes. Never mind. We had all the same classes, right? And in 8th grade, we only had 2 teachers, Miss McCullough and Miss Larson. And I don't know which happened first, but I know that they're both pretty bad. So, and one of them got me a name. So, it was, I don't know, I think it was the middle of the year, and me and my buddy, we were racing to class or something. I don't really know, but he got into class before I did, and it's one of those science rooms where there's one door over here and then there's one door right here, so you can enter both ways and exit. And so he's in there and he grabs the door and keeps it shut, and I'm on the outside trying to pull it open. And so it was just me and him because we had like gotten our locker stuff done and everything out of the way. And so he's on the inside and I'm on the outside. And so these doors are pretty freaking big, and you're not going to get into them if somebody's holding the door. So our stupid selves continued to pull, and my stupid self just yanked. And as soon as I yanked, he yanked too. And the dang doorknob broke off, and I was just holding it in my hand. And you know those the windows that you can see through, his jaw dropped, and I just held it and stood there for a second, and then slowly, one by one, my classmates started walking up asking what happened, and we had to tell them. And then my teacher walked up. Now Miss McCullough kind of built in the wrong way. walks up, and she has this jaw thing. It's like I don't know what's wrong with it. No diss to Miss McCullough though. Her jaw would just shake a little bit, and when she's super mad, it goes berserk. And so, I'm sitting there looking at her, and Walker's still in the room looking through the window, and she walks up and tries to, like, she doesn't know that the door's broken yet, so she's like, why are y'all still standing out here? And she walks up to the door. I kid you not, she just looks down and looks at me, and I just shake my head, and Walker just goes around to the other door, comes out. It's like, everybody, we did that. So long story short, we missed 30 minutes of class waiting for the janitor or custodian to get to the door and fix it. Another story, Miss Larson's class. Oh man, this is a good one. I have a tendency to fiddle with things. And so that day there was an empty Germ-X bottle. And you can like pull out the tube that you press, and the Germ-X goes in through the tube. And so I have the tube, and I'm messing with it. I'm just like up against the desk. And so I looked in the tube, and I thought it was empty. So I'm just flicking it hard as possible. And I have the whole Germ-X bottle inside my desk, right? So I'm like, that's whatever. And so I get it right at the right angle. And I guess from flicking it the whole time, all the Germ-X was just going to the top. And so I flick it one good time, and it manages to fly, the Germ-X manages to fly across the room and land in two people's eyes simultaneously. This happens, and they're screaming because it's Germ-X, and that kills 99% of germs. So anything in your eye is getting burnt. So they're screaming. One's in the floor. Name is Mason. He was on the floor and screaming, and then the other girl was a little bit further back than he was, and she was crying, her eyes bloodshot, and she was just trying to wipe it away. And my teacher starts yelling at me, and I have no idea why, because I was in my own zone just flicking away, man. And I'm like, what are you yelling at me for? She goes, you just flicked Germ-X in everybody's eye. And I was like, no, I didn't. And she's just accusing me, yelling at me, and I don't take getting yelled at lightly. So I get mad, and she's like, who did it? And I said, I don't know, ask God. And she got furious. When furious, her ears little red, and her cheeks just everything. It was all red. She yells at me and tells me to go out in the hallway. And so I do. I'm like, all right, it's whatever. She brings out the Germ-X, the little squirt piece without the tube. And she's like, well, you must have done it. And I was like, I didn't even use that as my weapon. And so she's like yelling at me in the hallway, threatening to suspend me because God knows that I did it on purpose, right? And so the two students come out, and they're like, how'd you do it? I'm like, I tell them the same story. And they were like, oh, okay. And long story short, I didn't get suspended. I did get yelled at. I think I got a detention for that one. That was it. That was the main thing. Big ol' suspension. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop the video here. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you later.